Travel companies are preparing for a busy half-term after the Transport Secretary Grant Shapps told Sky News that lateral flow tests will replace PCR tests for travellers returning to Britain. But there was no clarity or date about when that change will happen. The hope is before it's the October half-term break. We're joining us now, Jill Starley-Grainger, who's a former travel editor for Which. Nice to see you. Good afternoon.
Hello.
What is the state of play at the moment for families travelling to destinations like Portugal and Spain this October?
So if you were to go today, you would have a lot of tests you'd have to take, and so it would be very difficult. So the goal is that by half term, people hopefully, if you're fully vaccinated, and we're only talking about eligible adults, this doesn't really apply to people who aren't eligible, so young children, for example, then hopefully you won't have to scout around at your holiday destination to try to find somewhere to take a pre-departure test. And when you come back to the UK, then the hope is that everybody will be able to have a much cheaper lateral flow test. Currently, at your destination, about 2 to 3 days before you leave, you need to try to find a pharmacy or somebody who will give you an approved test to take before you board your plane. And on the way back, you have to pay for these expensive PCR tests, which cost anywhere from 50 to about £100, depending on where you are in the UK, which is a big expense for families.
Yeah, they are, especially if you're a family with 2, 3 more children. So lateral flow tests, to be clear, are the home kits that you get from the NHS. As you said, the more costly PCR ones, they involve not just money, but a bit of admin and organisation. Do you feel that that's been holding families back, as well as a bit of nerves? Because, you know, this may be the first holiday that families have had in nearly 2 years. Do you think that's what's been holding people back? And do you think going towards half-term, we'll see an influx of people trying to get those bookings in?
I think it's a mix. There are still a lot of people who are understandably concerned about the risks of COVID. And of course, young children still cannot be vaccinated. So there's a very real concern for them. However, I have heard from plenty of families who have said that really it is all of the cost and the hassle that is putting them off. And so this will help those families have a bit more confidence. Having said that, you do really need to be careful that although these countries have moved off the red list, so we've had dozens of countries that are being taken off the red list from Monday, there's no guarantee those countries won't go back onto the red list. So you need to have a plan in place for if that happens. You need to be prepared. Now, in many cases, there would be a low chance of that happening. So if you look at countries that have a pretty low incidence and have had a continuingly low incidence of COVID, you're probably safer with those countries. But do bear in mind that just because it's coming off the list on Monday at 11 a.m. from the red list, that's no guarantee that a country won't go back onto the red list.
Yeah, also, Jill, it's worth pointing out that, as you said, that red list, 47 countries are removed yesterday, only 7 remain. There's still some confusion, though, because that's the UK government giving you the thumbs up to go to those destinations if you want to. But each country that's been taken off that list will differ in terms of its own restrictions. So you need to research what happens when you get to those destinations.
Absolutely. There are loads of countries around the world where, while the UK government might say you can travel there without any restriction, that country simply will not let you in. So do check. So, for example, currently for America, you can't just go to America on holiday. They will turn you away. Well, I mean, really, they'll turn you away when you get to the airport in the UK. You can't go to Australia. There are loads of countries around the world that just because we can go there, it doesn't mean they're going to let us in. So check gov.uk and have a look at the country information, and that will give you the details to know whether you'll be allowed to go in and in what circumstances, because sometimes it'll only be if you're double jabbed. Sometimes there'll be various other criteria, and sometimes they'll let you in, but you'd have to quarantine when you arrive for 1 to 2 weeks, which could be the entire holiday. So do check that before you book anything.
Yeah, also worth checking that website, because today the government have taken a lot of countries and removed the all but essential travel advice from a number of countries, up to 50 countries. So you can head to the government website for that. Jill, really good to talk to you. Jill Starley-Grainger, former travel editor at Which. You're watching Sky News. Coming up after 4 o'clock, we'll have more on the migrants.